Hello everyone, my name is Lavoy Finicum. I'm a neighboring rancher to Clive and Bundy on the Arizona side of the border. I rode with his boys on April 12th when we went to go get his cows. And I feel I'd like to make this video to set the record straight, to maybe offset some very powerful voices such as Glenn Beck, where I believe that we've been misrepresented, maybe sincerely, but misrepresented nevertheless. And I want to clarify two things. First, I want to clarify the intent of our hearts, of those who rode, at least for myself, and points of law. First, the intent of our hearts. On April the 15th, April the 14th, when Glenn Beck started his radio program, he started talking about how this was nothing to do with people looking or turning to God, and that we had no hope if we didn't turn to God. And I felt that he very much mischaracterized what actually took place. And so I called him and was able to speak to him on his radio broadcast. And I explained to him the best I could in the short amount of time that I had what actually took place. But yet then again, on that evening, he went again to the point that he did not see where people were turning to God and asking for his divine help. And so this is what I want to do. I want to just relate to you what I saw with my own eyes from morning to evening. Arrived there early in the morning as cowboys to come and stand with Cliven in support of him. When we saddled up, rode across the bridge, we had the American flag, the flags representing our armed forces, going before us, showing respect to our nation, to those who fought for our freedoms. We had a horse being led with no rider in it, an empty saddle, representing those who had died and given their lives for the freedoms that we possess and enjoy this day. We then lined up. Those who held the flags rode to the top of the hill. There we said the Pledge of Allegiance. We sang the national anthem after we had opened with a word of prayer. We waited there for approximately an hour, waiting for it to be resolved where the cows were being kept. When the time was up, Cliven asked if we would ride with him, stand with him, and of course that's why we came. He asked for us to ride over there and meet us at the underpass where the cows were being kept on the other side, and those that drove up there and met us there. When we left to ride over there, there was about 40 to 50 riders. We rode over there. It was about 3 miles. Halfway between here and there, when nobody could see, no cameras were rolling, no media was present, the Bundy boys said, "Let's stop, man. Let us have a word of prayer." We stopped. He offered a very sincere and heartfelt prayer where he implored the protection of heaven to be upon us and all people there, that no one would be hurt, that we would conduct ourselves in a respectable manner. At that point, there was a peace, there was a calm. We then put our hats back on and we rode on. Unbeknownst to us, at the same time, those that had driven ahead and were waiting at that underpass had also knelt down and implored the protection of heaven on that day, that no one would be hurt, no one would be harmed. This is not being represented by Glenn Beck and others. It is being missed. The one who has best represented it was Megan Kelly. We rode over there. We didn't come charging, guns a-blazing. We were not armed. There were a couple of cowboys that had rifles in their boots, their saddle boots. There was 1 or 2 riders that may have had a sidearm on their persons. None of them drew them from their scabbards, from the boots. And also to offset what Sheriff Mack said, we did not have women and children in front of us so they could be shot and be heard. Harry Reid is lying. Fox News that reported that that's what we did are mistaken. They do not understand. I was there. I saw it. There were a couple of tough as nail cowgirls that chose to ride beside us. And we're honored to have them with us. Did not have children there to take a bullet so that we could get sympathy from this country. This was incorrect, represented incorrectly. When we arrived there and rode under the underpass, we lined up and asked for the cows to be released. The intent of our heart was not to cause harm or accident, but we did intend to come and get the cows. We were told to leave or we would be shot, that we were in violation of a federal court order. We did not leave. Those were his cows. You cannot have a federal government sitting as judge upon a federal case. It's like the administration having Benghazi or the IRS investigated by themselves. A state court needed to be the impartial judge to represent. You cannot have a federal judge representing a federal case. It's a conflict of interest. We were asked to leave. We did not leave. Then they brought in SWAT to show us that they were really serious. We stepped forward a little bit, continued to ask for the gates to be open. They cocked their guns, charged their weapons, said that if we advanced, they would fire. We advanced. At this point, they realized that they were at least going to have to shoot us because cowboys on horses are not going to be pulled off and zip-tied. You can't put a cowboy on a 12,000-pound animal and pull him off. So the only way they was going to get us off of our horses was to shoot us. We had media there. It would have been a media nightmare for them. There were citizens behind us with guns. The cowboys were in the middle, unarmed. If they would have fired, it would have been a bloodbath of unarmed cowboys being massacred. They knew they were in a no-win situation. They backed down. Now, they say we sat there and taunted. There were some people that were irate. They were firm. But once they backed up, we backed up. And we waited for the federal agents to leave. We were respectful. These things are not represented nor shown. Once we backed up, the Bundy family went up there, knelt down, and in sincerity, just their family, I could watch them offer up thanks and gratitude to God that their cows were being returned. Beck, you're wrong. We waited until that gate was open. The cows were not grazing merely on green pastures on the other side of the fence that people saw us standing at. That fence was meant to keep us out. The cows were on about a quarter mile north of there in kraals. And as Pat says, oh, were they kept in concentration camps? Well, yeah, we call them corrals. And that's where they were kept. And they think, the way it's represented, that we were standing in the way of them opening the gates, allowing the cows to merely go back to the river, to wander back to greener pastures. Incorrect. We waited, and once the county sheriffs came there, Metro, who was the proper law enforcement, we said, thank you, boys. We are glad you are here. We are glad you're here. We shook their hands. We were respectful to them. And we waited for the BLM and all the federal rangers and all the federal law enforcement to leave. And as they left, Metro lined up 3 vehicles, and only the cowboys followed behind on their horses. 2 state officers, state sheriffs, walked slowly in front of those cars as we went up to get the cows. It was slow like a funeral procession. It was reverent. It was calm. We said, boys, do not catcall at those federal agents. They leave. No gestures, no disrespect. We went up there solemnly, slowly, in a funeral-like procession to the kraals to get the cows. This is not represented. Beck, I hope you're hearing what I'm saying. We went up there and we opened the gates and we let the cows go. I myself saw at least one dead cow that had died from injury, stress, dehydration, I don't know, but I saw one dead. I saw others badly injured. I saw those that could not walk back to the river. I saw those that left limping and struggling. So they were stressed. They were poorly taken care of. Calves separated from their mothers. This was not a humanitarian way to take care of these animals. The cowboys take care of their cattle with deep feelings of their heart. They care about them. Federal government couldn't care less. They were there to do a job. Be damned how it was done. So I have strong feelings about that, about how we were misrepresented by powerful voices. Powerful voices. Nobody could have hurt us more than you, Glenn Beck. And I told you the best I could. That Monday morning, the 14th, what it was like. And yet, that evening on your show, you doubled down in the misrepresentation. You owe them an apology. Now, to points of law. Let me make this clear. I really appreciate you, Sean Hannity, you, Mark Levin, and others who have been very supportive of our stance. But even so, the point of law is still often misunderstood. Let me try to explain it as simply and clearly as I can. It is a right. It is a grazing right. The rancher owns that right. It is a personal property. Now, for example, on my ranch, that grass is mine for my cows to graze upon. I own that. It's my right, my ranch, my cows. Now, on the same area where the miners come in and mine the uranium, they mine down and they mine those minerals out of there. That becomes their personal property. They own those mineral rights. Their rights. It's private property. They own it. I, as a rancher, do not have claim upon their mineral rights. They, as a rancher or as a miner, do not have claim upon my grass. They are separate rights on the same area. Now, when the hunter comes, neither I, as the rancher, nor the miner have claim upon the deer that the hunter hunts. That is his. And the hunter does not have claim upon my grass, nor upon the miner's minerals. These are ours, our rights, our property. I hope you can see in a simple way that these grazing rights are ours to own, to hold, and to control. The BLM is overstepping their bounds. So that is the point of law that I wanted to make. It's not that hard to understand. Now, Glenn, you called upon your religion, your scriptures, and you put forth Joseph Smith, the prophet, as the example of someone who did not resort to violence, allowed himself to be killed in Carthage jail, not to call upon his Nauvoo militia to protect him, and justly so, he should be honored. At the same time, I feel that you minimize the sacrifice of David Patton at the same time, in the same place, in the same religion. He gave his life fighting at the Battle of Crooked River to defend life, liberty, and property. Was Joseph Smith's life more precious, more valuable than David Patton's? Was his less? Was his sacrifice less? I don't think so. I think both were honorable. You say violence is never the answer. When it comes to our home, our family, our life, liberty, and property? Do we not have a God-given right to defend them physically if necessary? I hope that these few simple words might somewhere be heard by somebody, and that understanding might be increased. God bless this great nation that we live in. And this I say, giving thanks for all the blessings that God has showered upon this nation, upon me and upon my family. God bless America. Thank you.